Hey y'all, welcome to an overview of project number 4. It's hard to believe that we're to this point already, and I know y'all are well on your way to finishing up project number 3, but it's never too late to start or never too early to start thinking about your next project. So hopefully this just serves as a quick overview, doesn't interfere too much with what you're doing for project number 3, but just gets you starting to think about project number 4, just spending a few minutes to go over what to expect and when to expect it over the next month or so. So let's dive in and maybe talk a little bit about and think about when we kicked off project number 3. I kind of hinted on that project number 3 and 4, these final two projects, work in unison. You guys have done a great job to dive into understanding personas and building some testing scripts and conducting your first interviews. And now it's time to take all that information and pour it into what will be your final design concept for your app that you've chosen. And so, we've talked a lot throughout this course about getting in the mindset of the user and how, sometimes you might not ultimately be the end user of your product that you're creating. And so that's why it's so important that we took those few weeks there for project number 3 and spent some time going into user personas and interviewing them and getting ideas as to what features we might include in this project here, this project number 4, this final project. So time to take what you learned in project number 3 and pour it into project number 4. When we started project number 3, we were really all the way here on the left-hand side with personas and UX research and really just understanding your audience here as we kicked off project number 3. And hopefully, as you saw in project number 3, you kind of started off with selecting your app or your idea. And as you interviewed the user, came up with a persona, interviewed the user, created those summaries, you saw some trends and patterns that maybe surprised you, or some ideas that your participants in those interviews recommended that, with where your experiences were, what the ideas you may have had coming to the table for the app, maybe surprised you, and maybe kind of made you think differently about how you might design it. And that's really the benefit of talking with users. We've talked about, as a designer, your own blind spots or getting so in the weeds that you kind of lose sight of the big picture. And that's why it's so good to take a step back and talk to users, because oftentimes they come up with great ideas that you may have never thought of because you just didn't see it from their perspective. So we're going to take what they said, the information you got in project number 3, and leverage it throughout the next several steps as we complete our project 4, ultimately creating a clickable prototype. So we're gonna reinvest in some of those same deliverables that y'all are already so good at from projects number 1 and 2, and do those again, just maybe with a different type of technology or with a different type of use case, building an app rather than a desktop website or something like that. So with that comes a little bit more nuance, some things to think about, especially as we go into wireframing and then ultimately going into our prototype. And so we'll talk about that when we get there. Some of the unique use cases for mobile design, for app design that are drastically different from responsive web design for desktop and for scaling it down to kind of your mobile device and browser. So we'll cover that once we get into wireframes and prototyping, but just know that we're going to be repeating some of those same deliverables. And so I'm excited to see what you all do to take those to the next step, the next level, especially as you've had a chance to practice those similar deliverables in projects number 1 and project number 2. Some of the things I just wanted to hit on as we go into this project to think about is that, unlike maybe the apartment finder website or the redesign of the local business, where you're dealing with large scale full page content and web design, there with an app, your screen size is limited, and so your goal in an application or app design is really to keep things succinct for the user, allow them to make decisions, and don't be afraid of multiple taps and clicks that lead the user in the right direction, rather than kind of long scroll, long form page type content. And what you'll often find in application design is a beautiful kind of a marrying of photography and typography. Here in this example, just as a quick kind of search on Dribbble, a beautiful example of the photography of these islands mixed with some strong headers, some elegant kind of detailed content, and some pretty simple color contrast there and color choices to highlight some of the actions on the application. And you can see here a very simple application, but it feels pretty intuitive. I can get tour details, I can discover and search for places, jump into this Faroe Islands overview, and quickly book a trip in the matter of a few taps. And so in your application, you want to be as intuitive as possible and think about the different things that your users mentioned as it relates to some of the features and the functions that they would be expecting out of the type of app that you're creating. Let's jump into another example, and you'll see as we go through this that I've tried to hit on some of the different genres that y'all have chosen. So in this example, a travel app. In this example of a music app, the important thing in any genre that you've chosen is that your actions be front and center, and that if you're recommending things or generating ideas for your users, that you make those easy to use or easy to find. And there's different ways that you can do that. You don't have to display all the information on the screen at once. You can take advantage of some of the awesome features that a mobile app or mobile device has to offer, like swiping left and right, or swiping up to find new content, or expose some things that are maybe hidden, or Nick talked about delighting the user, designing for delight. And so some of those unexpected features of your application that would just make that user experience that much more better. So here in this example, the music app, I can swipe left and right for you. If you have Spotify on your phone, very similar experience, swiping left and right. And maybe as I'm listening to the song, I could swipe up and actually see the lyrics there within the song itself. And Higher Love is one of my all-time favorite songs. And then those extra actions there, the play action and any action that you would have within your application, within your product, being large enough, easy enough to tap on for the user to make decisions or interact with your application. Let's go to one more real quick, and then I just want to talk about what to expect throughout the rest of this project here in the next several weeks. And so in this final example, this is a money app or a banking app. One other thing that you'll find oftentimes in really solid application design is a few onboarding screens. And so I'll be encouraging you to think about that. Just a few helpful screens at the very beginning for users when they log in for the first time that give them an overview of what your app has to offer. And so those could be those 3 features that you've uncovered with the user interviews. It could be the purpose statement or the mission statement of your application. What are some things that you'd think about that would be important to highlight that separates your app as a differentiator? And so we'll be thinking about some of those things there in the first week of the course. But in this example, you can see through this banking app that you can move with us by buying a train ticket or a bus ticket. You can tap to pay. You can keep everything in one wallet, and park easily and quickly. So this kind of feels like an all-inclusive kind of financial application for people who are on the move, commuters, and you may be young professionals. And so we'll be thinking about onboarding. Most applications come with kind of a first-time user onboarding, and so I'll be encouraging you to think about that. And again, in these examples, there's not a ton of text, there's not a lot of content. There's usually kind of a nice illustration or photo with maybe a kind of a clever marketing statement or a catchy headline, with just providing the user a little bit of context about the purpose of your application. Finally, let's go over some of the key features or highlights, the different deliverables you'll be working on for your fourth and final project. So I've titled this Crafting the Full Experience. Like I said, we've started with the user personas and user interviews, and now we're working our way to finishing up the rest of our application based off that information. And so you can find a full project number 4 schedule there in the project number 4 project statement. There it includes a detailed list of everything we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks here. But just know that there are 3 big milestones due before your final presentation package. We're going to repeat some of those same deliverables we've done before, an IA/user flow, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means there in that module, but that'll be due April 15th. Wireframes due April 22nd, a clickable prototype due April 29th, and your final project number 4 package, which is also your final for this course, due there finals week of May 6th. And so an easy way to think about that is for the next several Thursdays, you're going to have a milestone due with the feedback due that Sunday evening, and then the final project number 4 package, your presentation package, due as your final assignment for this course, their finals week on May 6th. So hopefully that was helpful as an overview. One other thing I'm really excited about, I just lined up our 4th and final industry chat. And so we're going to be talking with an individual by the name of Emily Stump, who is a YSU grad, graduated a semester before I did. Emily works in experience design for Indiana University Health Systems. I just talked with her not too long ago, and super excited to be able to have our 4th and final industry chat. Again, another individual who came from the YSU graphic design program and has found themselves in a career that would be leveraging a lot of the same deliverables that we've created in this course, and maybe in her role a little bit more into that analysis and discovery phase that we just came out of for project number 3 just last week. So again, hopefully this was helpful as a quick overview. I've included just a very brief kind of discussion post to get you maybe thinking about project number 4 here below. But good luck on project number 3, and excited to move into project number 4, our final project with y'all. All right, thanks everybody.